Good morning, scholars, and welcome to week 3. The first couple weeks were a little bit about the process, and we had a little bit of fun. We keep hanging out on Google Hangouts, which I love. I love catching up with you guys every day. I miss you very much. This week, we're going to get a little bit more into some math, though. You're going to have to do a little bit more work, but I am going to try to make it as fun as possible and as easy as possible as well, but I do need to get you ready for the next level. So this week, we are going to talk about equations and whether they have one solution, 0 solutions, or infinitely many solutions. We're also going to talk a little bit about what we discussed last week about the coronavirus and the scale that it was going up and the rates. We did receive some good news over the weekend, particularly on Sunday. The number of new cases went down, so we'll talk a little bit about that and what we might be able to expect for the week. We'll try to do some fun things, some Kahoot, and I'll make more TikToks. I want to share some more of what I did over the week. But certainly reach out, let me know how you're doing. But before we begin today, let's check out the new trailer for a movie coming out starring Jude. Enjoy, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're going to take a look at this pretty simple two-step equation, and we're just going to talk about whether this equation has one solution, no solutions, or infinitely many solutions. Just by looking at this, let's just read this out loud really quick. This means 3 times a number, just one number, one type of number, minus 2 equals 7. So in order to do this, we have to get these terms all by themselves, particularly this variable term right there. And that's what we've done in the past, is we've made this little teeter-totter because the equal sign means that both sides mean exactly the same thing. So whatever 3 times a number minus 2 is going to equal 7. So we need to get to a point where 7 is going to equal 7, because that's what that equal sign means. It means the exact same. So in order to do that, we got to get rid of our constants, and we're going to move all of our numbers to that side of the equation. What's the opposite of being on a teeter-totter? Being off a teeter-totter. So we're going to do the opposite operation. In order to get rid of this guy, we're going to do the opposite operation of what he is. So what's the opposite of a negative 2? A positive 2. And whenever we do to one side, we do to the other. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And so we're negative 2 plus 2 is 0, so those are gone. And then I have 7 plus 2. 7 plus 2 is going to be 9. And the only thing I have left over on this side is 3x. Once again, to isolate something, to isolate a variable, we use inverse operations. This means 3 times x. 3 times x. What's the opposite of multiplying by 3? You got it. Dividing by 3. So we're going to divide 3 by both sides. Is what we're going to end up with is x is going to only equal 9 divided by 3 is going to be 3. 3 is the only solution that will make this equation work to where we would get 7 equals 7, and there'd be one solution. If we plug it in, and there you have it. 7 does equal 7. So that checks, because if those two guys are sitting on a teeter-totter, that teeter-totter would be perfectly level. So for this equation, whenever you have a variable, your variable equals a number. Variable equals a number, and it's just one number. There is just one solution to that equation. One solution. So this is what most of ours look like. When you have a variable isolated all by itself, just as one, and it equals a number, and you're able to plug it back into the original equation or substitute a known value, and it gives you the same thing, 7 equals 7, that statement is true. If that statement is true, then there's just one solution right there. All right. I think you have a good understanding of what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and jump into some specific Khan Academy examples that you guys might find in your practice problems this week. All right, welcome back. I put up another Khan Academy example for you guys, and this is straight out of some of those practice ones that you guys might see. So let's look at this guy, and there's a couple things that we can do. Number one, this is 4 times the quantity, y minus 30, equals 4y plus 12. So this is a number y minus 30 times 4 is going to equal the same thing and have the same weight, like if it was on a teeter-totter, as these guys over here. Well, that's what would happen if it was a true equation. So this one we're going to find out if this was a true equation, meaning that both sides are the same, or if it's not going to be one of those. So there's a couple ways to do this. Number one, I've taught you guys the distributive property before, and so you could go through and just multiply this 4 times a y, and that's a positive 4, so a positive 4 times a positive y is a 4y, and then we have 4 times a negative 30. A positive times a negative is going to give us a negative. 4 times 30 is going to be 120, so this is going to be a negative 120. Everything else on this side of the teeter-totter, or on this side of the equation, is going to stay the same for now. And let's just take a look at this. Now remember, we're going to isolate variables by doing the inverse operations. And I like to put my variables on this side, although it doesn't matter, because when it's equal, it doesn't matter which side they're on. But if we were to move this variable term, this 4y, and move it over here, he's a positive 4y, so the inverse operation, the opposite of him, is going to be a negative 4y. And whatever we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other side. And this is where we get into a little bit of trouble, but it's not trouble at all. It's totally normal. You did this right. 4 minus 4 is going to be 0. So that's gone just like that's gone. And the only things that are left on this teeter-totter or in this equation is a negative 120 equals 12. Now I'm going to ask you, does negative 120 equal 12? I don't think so. So when you have a situation where you have no more variables left and the statement is not true, this means that there are no solutions that will satisfy this equation. There's not going to be any instance or any number that's going to make this teeter-totter perfectly level if we choose just one number or any numbers for y. So this is an example straight from Khan of distributive property, putting things together, eliminating your variables, and when we got an inconsistent or a false statement, negative 120 equals 12, we know that that's going to have no solutions. There's not going to be any solutions to this equation at all. I'm going to do a really fast, quick video. If you didn't want to do the distributive property, remember, what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. I'm going to show you guys that really quick. Okay, all that I did real quick is this is 4 times the quantity, so this would be 4 times a number. Even though there's 2 terms in that parenthesis, it represents one number. So let's say it was 4x equals 12. You guys would have told me to divide by 4. I could have done that straight from the beginning. Now, before I've told you whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other side. Now we need to take a step, and whatever you do to the other side, you have to do it to every single term. These aren't the same. They're not like terms. So we have to divide that 4 by the 4y and the 12, and we were left with y and the 3. But again, this came out to negative 3 equals 3, and that's not true. So this one also is no solution. Same answer. All right, let's check out some fun stuff. We'll be right back.